So typically what we would do is put this wall up, put another one up, get them braced, and then we would put the sheeting on. But being I'm only one person and I have that nice forklift, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sheet it, paper it, done, and then set the whole thing up, have the forklift hold it, brace it, set the next one up, tie them together, and then we'll keep going like that. So I'm going to put the sheeting on here, but when we do that, we have to make sure that our bottom plate or top plate, whichever one you're going to use, is nice and straight. The other thing we have to do is make sure that this is 90 degrees to this. Otherwise, we're going to have an angled building. Okay, so here's the top plate that I'm going to put on. And this is the joint that we had on our wall at 12 feet. So we want to run our top plate about 4 feet over that. I set a nail right here. This is in 3.5 inches from the edge. And this allows for the other wall top plate that's going to go on the back of the wall to tie into this wall. So that'll actually be the back wall, this point right here. So we're starting our top plate from the inside corner here, and we're going to go down. So this makes this joint very strong by running this over the top. And then what we need to do now is just finish off from here to the end. And then we're going to hold it back short 3.5 inches so the front wall can tie into this. And then we'll have it double plated and then all ready for sheeting. One thing that's worth noticing is nailing these. You want to make sure you nail them above the studs. That way, if an electrician ever needs to run a wire up the wall and into the attic, they're not going to hit the nails of your top plate as easily if they're in a place where they wouldn't be drilling anyway. So just a good point of reference to keep in mind is to nail them above. You can't do that all the time everywhere, but it's just a really good thing to remember to try to do. Okay, so here I'm marking 16 inches and 32 inches. This is where our studs fall. And then I'm going to scribe lines down this by setting my pencil and my tape measure, setting the lock on my tape measure, and threading the line. Okay, so on the edges you want to nail every 4 inches or less. They call this our nailing pattern, and this is by code. You have to be 4 inches or less on the edges. Now, I haven't nailed this other sheet yet, but you can see that they're about 4 inches apart. What we have here then on our lines that we drew is every 6 inches we put in a nail, and that's called nailing in the field, which is the open area of the sheet every 4 inches, or every 6, excuse me. So what I'm doing now is getting this next sheet lined up, and we're going to push down. I put a little block of wood up there. I'm going to push the wall down slightly so that I get this at exactly 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm just going to make sure I have that the whole way down, and when I'm done, this should look very straight. It should be perfect straight wall when I'm done. We're setting up a sheet to another sheet. We want to put nails in as our stops, like this little guy right here, and then in between we want to put a nail so that we have a little space. And this space is it's an expansion joint. Allows the sheet, if it takes on moisture, and it can just be humidity, that will allow both sheets to move slightly if they have to. So we always want to space them with a couple of nails. A couple 8-penny nails work the best. Here's another situation that we have to pay attention to. You can see that this board is scun off from the machining, or it might be the side of the tree. So we're going to have to make sure we get our nails angled into there good so they don't deflect off of that and not go into the wood. So I'll show you how we'll do that when we put this last sheet on. And everything's going good. Some of you might have asked, well, if you're spacing these an 1/8 inch with that 18 or 8-penny nail every time, won't that add measurements every time we come down the side? Well, yes, it does, but the nice thing about sheeting is it's undersized for the spacing. So you can see that it's an 1/8 inch under 4 feet. So it works out. So I'm going to stay further away from the edge and a little bit more of an angle. Make sure it gets in on that wood. That was scun off. Okay, so I'm laying out the 2 wall plates for the other wall. We're going to put a door, a service door in here, and it's going to be 2 feet in from the end. We're going to come in and it's going to start, then we're going to go 32.5 inches in between. So this is set up for a 30-inch door. So the door is, the slab that swings open is actually 30 inches. But we need to have a rough opening for the frame and a space around the frame in case we want to insulate. So we made this one 32.5 inches between. So when you do that, we have to find our cripple and our stud. The stud goes all the way to the top. This is what the header will sit on. And then if we need studs above the header, and then the header sits on this stud or cripple here. And then there's another 16-inch spacing stud there. So we're going to lay these out, and then you'll see how that goes together a little bit better. Okay, here are my two header pieces. They're cut 35.5, and that's what fits in between the two king studs on each side of the floor. They're 1.5 inches each, that makes 3.5. Our wall is 3.5, so I have to fill in with a piece of 1/2-inch plywood cut a little bit smaller than the header's height. Then this will make 3.5 inches. We nail 1, 2, 3 about every 10 inches. Make sure everything is lined up. There's the header. Okay, so I cut my two cripples on each side to 82.5 inches. That'll allow from the top of the sole plate to underneath of the header for a door to fit in there nicely with about a 3/8 1/2-inch space, so that we can insulate around it if that is something that needs to be done in the future. Okay, so this is what the header looks like in place. Nailed it on the sides. Put in my little cripples above. I could have used probably a 2x12 and then I wouldn't have had a space either. This works. And then this is a 16 on center. I just moved it over a 1/2 inch to meet up against there because 8 feet or 4-foot piece of sheeting lands right here anyway. So it all works out where we have a door now. Okay, so here's that door opening, and I've got the sheeting over it. I accidentally nailed here where I probably shouldn't have, because I'm going to cut this out, and that way when we put the next sheet on, we'll be able to see where the header is and then cut again. I've marked down here where I need to draw a line, so I'll just take and line this up with my square, draw a line, take the skill saw, cut that, and then get the next sheet on. I've got a line here. I did the same thing on the top of the wall so I can get my lines and use a skill saw. So we have two walls here completed now. This top one has the service door in it. So the two side walls are done. And now we've got to create the wall in the back here that goes between the two walls. And like we talked about earlier in this video, we're taking 7 inches off, so we're going to be 23 feet 5 inches. That's taking 3.5 off this side, 3.5 off this side, so that it fits in between there. So what I've done here is I put my tape at 3.5 inches, because this is where the outside wall would be, and then I'm going to mark 3/4 under 16 X here. That's where our first stud starts. So this stud opening on this wall in between the two side walls is going to be narrower than it was on the other walls because we have the thickness of the wall out here. So with that, sticking by 3.5 to accept the outside wall, and then our sheeting is going to be on the outside wall, and then it's going to come up to here and land on that 16 on center, and then it'll work out for the 48. So what I did here is I set a nail, because what I want to do now is hook my tape on that, and now what I can do is I'll mark every 16. I won't be under 16 anymore. I'll be right on because I'm hooked on the one side of the nail, or the one side of that stud. So then I'll just go down the line, 16 on center for these. Okay, we're going to put together the header for the window, lay them right on top of each other, make sure that they're flush in all directions. Okay, so we're going to put the center of the window on this back wall at 6 feet. That'll be the center of it, so if you're a 6-foot tall person, it'll be looking straight out of it. You kind of want them a little bit higher so people on the outside aren't peeking in all the time. Gives you a little bit more security. So it's a 24-inch rough opening. So if I go a foot each way, we'll see how this works out for the header. So we've got about 3 inches here. So I think what I'm going to do is put a 2x4 on the top and bottom of this, run it all the way up, and then we won't have to cut little pieces to put in between. Now we'll cut 24 inch. Okay, so what I've done here is I've cut the 24-inch pieces for each side of the window, and then on the bottom we have 2 sill plates that are 39, the same length as the header, and then underneath we have triples. Stud, 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 triple, and another triple here, and then it'll be another stud for a 16-inch spacing here. So we'll get this all nailed together, and this will take care of framing our window. this wall that we're putting the sheeting on now. So we know that we had an opening of 36 inches. So I'm just going to measure from right there, mark 36. You can also, if you don't remember what the opening was, just stick your tape in until you hit the side of it. It says 18 3/4, hook on, 18 3/4 is right where we were at. Then I'll scribe a line. And then I'm going to scribe a line with the top of the window and the bottom of the window. And then we'll cut that out with the skill saw.